The blind, self-proclaimed psychic Baba Vanga may have died almost 30 years ago, but she had plenty of predictions about 2023, and in a word, they're terrifying.
While everyone was fast asleep, the final prophecies of the two most renowned mystics of all time were discovered. What they predicted for the year 2025 is certain to send shivers through the entire world. It seems that governments are also preparing for the worst that could happen. What we are about to share with you is not intended to instill fear, but serves as a divine warning from God, something you need to know to help you navigate through this challenging time. The prophet's legacy. Needless to say, prophetic predictions regarding large-scale, epoch-making events that reportedly came to pass have only further cemented the convictions of believers, and in some cases, these stunning revelations have even caused skeptics to review their positions. Nostradamus, a 16th-century physician, astrologer, sage, and seer, is perhaps the most renowned clairvoyant in history, as he apparently forecasted numerous transformative affairs centuries ahead of his time. In one such prophecy, he referenced a young child born of poor people from the depths of the west of Europe, who would go on to seduce a great troop by his tongue, which many now believe alluded to the rise of Adolf Hitler. While Nostradamus remains the most famous, a legendary prophet grew up further east during the 20th century. Known by millions of followers as the beloved Baba Vanga, she was a blind mystic often called the Balkan Nostradamus. Despite her extremely humble beginnings, minimal education, and the seemingly endless string of hardships she suffered in her early life, the resilient, insightful, and peerlessly intuitive Vanga achieved global fame and recognition with her otherworldly visions and frighteningly accurate prophecies, attracting scores of domestic and international visitors from all walks of life, ranging from fellow villagers to celebrities and foreign dignitaries who clung on to her every word. The loyalty of her fan base, many of whom continue to spread forth her predictions and invaluable pearls of wisdom over 20 years after her death, is a testament to her prowess, especially in the present, when skepticism and cynicism have become the norm. Contrary to popular belief, despite Vanga's many health complications resulting from her premature delivery, she was not born blind. 12-year-old Vanga and her cousins were strolling home from a neighboring pasture one summer's day when the pulsing billow of clouds hovering above them began to swirl. The children yanked the donkey's leads and accelerated, attempting to outrun the whistling, spinning column of wind descending from the sinister greenish-gray skies, but it was too late. While the other children managed to duck into a nearby storm cellar in the nick of time, the whirling vortex raged forth, scooping up Vanga and dropping her in a field about half a mile away. When Vanga was found, she, still whimpering and shaking like a leaf, mustered up the energy to point to her eyes, which were screwed shut, as they were gunked up with sand. The adults rinsed Vanga's eyes vigorously as soon as she was carried home, but the damage had been done. She was unable to open her eyes at all in the weeks. She became completely deprived of her eyesight 4 years later, her twinkling brown eyes permanently replaced by milky white pupils. She later lost the ability to open her eyelids again in her old age, which, due to her abundance of wrinkles, almost appeared to be completely sealed shut. Biological weapons testing. Baba Vanga warned of increased terrorist activities in Europe and hinted at the possibility of a major country engaging in biological weapons, testing, or launching attacks. Presently, the Israel-Hamas conflict and Russia's invasion of Ukraine remain prominent issues. In fact, because the balance of international power has changed, is China rising as many people think? Or Russia is declining rapidly? Might be China's development cannot make up for Russia's decline, so the power to balance the West is gradually becoming weaker. There are more and more democratic countries and their power is getting stronger, such as Eastern Europe and India. NATO is gradually expanding eastward, and a pattern of encircling China is also taking shape. Many territorial disputes between Russia and China are being unearthed from history. Russia's rule over Tatars, Chechnya, and many other ethnic states in the southwest, and China's rule over East Turkestan, Tibet, Southern Mongolia, and Hong Kong are becoming less and less recognized by the world. In olden days, all that people had to do was to grow up, have a source of income, have family, spend time with them, raise the kids, enjoy the festivals, fairs once a year, wait for your last moment. They had to worry only for food, shelter, safety, and bit dignity or honor in the society. That's it. I am not saying that the life was easy then, but it was more simpler. Whereas now, it is too difficult to have a peaceful life. Since we get to know everything about anything, we grow a tendency of having them. Be it money, fame, skills, or anything. We are getting overloaded with knowledge. Because of internet and entertainment media, the whole idea of life is changing. We want to become a successful person, an entrepreneur, want to have a relationship, want to learn music, want to travel the whole world, become rich, and what else? We start to compare ourselves as we get to know what has other person done in his, her life. That is the biggest villain of peace of mind. The wrath of nature is coming. Although Baba Vanga left no formal writings, her words have been passed down orally, and she is now credited with several predictions for 2025 that point to profound global changes. Baba Vanga is also known for her visions of natural disasters that would affect the planet's climate and living conditions. She reportedly predicted that extreme weather events, including intense heat waves in Europe and desertification in parts of South America and Asia, would mark 2025. These interpretations align with modern concerns about climate change, which forecasts drought conditions and extreme heat in certain regions. Baba Vanga is also said to have predicted a wave of water that would cover vast areas in Asia, possibly referring to a tsunami or major flood. The possibility of such an event occurring in places like Bangladesh or Southeast Asia remains a critical concern today due to the risk of flooding in vulnerable areas. Nostradamus also alludes to climatic events and natural disasters in his prophecies for 2025. One quatrain describes fire in the New World and waves that drown, which has been interpreted as warnings of devastating wildfires and tsunamis in North America and Asia. In the United States, there is concern that these fires could severely impact California and other regions prone to massive wildfires. Meanwhile, in Asia, some believe Nostradamus predicted an earthquake or tsunami that could affect Japan and its surrounding areas. As we face these predictions, it is essential to approach them with a balance of curiosity and caution, acknowledging both their historical context and their potential relevance to today's global challenges. It is also said that Nostradamus mentions lands turning into deserts and submerged cities, which many associate with the effects of climate change in regions like Brazil, where severe droughts could occur, and coastal areas in Asia and southern Europe, which could be at risk of flooding. These interpretations reflect current concerns about global warming and how it might reshape the world in the coming decades. The end of King Charles III. One of the 2025 predictions of Nostradamus will happen very soon is the prediction about the end of King Charles III. The prophecy of Nostradamus that could cover King Charles III has triggered a lot of discussions. It was alleged that King Charles of Great Britain and Northern Ireland was diagnosed with prostate cancer only 20 months after ascending to the throne upon the death of Queen Elizabeth II in 2022. This news has raised a lot of concern and speculation. The British author Mario Redding specializes in the work of Nostradamus and found a prophecy that seems to match this diagnosis. He analyzed Nostradamus's prophecy and interpreted it in the words, "Because they disapproved of his divorce, a man who later they considered unworthy. The people will force out the king of the islands. A man will replace who never expected to be king." Nostradamus also predicted the death of Queen Elizabeth II in 2022, accurately stating her age at the time of passing. Mario Reading's analysis of this prophecy states, Queen Elizabeth II will die circa 22 at the age of around 96. The prophecy suggests that King Charles's reign might be cut short. One part of the prophecy reads, King of the Isles driven out by force, replaced by one who will have no mark of a king. This mysterious line has led to many theories about what might happen next. Some people think it means King Charles could be forced to step down because of his health. Others believe it might hint at a more dramatic removal from power. With rumors that King Charles III might abdicate, many are curious who the next in line would be. The most evident candidate is Prince William, as he is the first in line to the British throne. William, the Prince of Wales, has been preparing for this role for many years. His dedication to royal duties and his increasing involvement in significant matters show he is ready to step up if needed. Close friends and sources have mentioned his growing interest in gaining leadership and his desire to make a meaningful impact, indicating he could be ready to assume the role of king sooner than expected. However, this line of succession has been complicated by another prophecy from Nostradamus. The prophecy suggests that the new ruler will have no mark of a king, which has led to speculation that someone unconventional might take the throne. The newborn leader. One of Baba Vanga's most intriguing predictions for 2025 is the birth of a child who will play a crucial role in achieving world peace. According to her prophecy, this child will bring a new order and become a spiritual leader who will unite humanity. It is said that the child will be born on January 5, 2025, and will grow up with exceptional abilities that will enable them to guide the world in times of crisis. Seen as a symbol of hope amid darker prophecies, this child is regarded by some of Baba Vanga's followers as a sign of renewal and unity. Although this prediction is one of the least verifiable, it has captured the imagination of many and remains a topic of speculation. Baba Vanga also mentioned the name of the powerful man, Putin. This is one of her most famous predictions. According to her, Putin will become the lord of the world, while Europe will become a wasteland. All will thaw as if ice, only one remains untouched: Vladimir's glory, the glory of Russia. Nobody can stop Russia. After the Russia and Ukraine conflict, these alleged prophecies attributed to Bulgarian blind seer Baba Vanga went viral on social media and were mentioned by mainline international media as well. Reportedly, they came from Russian poet and academic Valentin Mitrofanovich Sidorov, who interviewed Baba Vanga and devoted a book to her, whose most popular edition, heavily edited after his death, was published in 2009. Many people are quite skeptical of this prophecy, and up until now, nothing is certain about the final outcome of the conflict between the two nations. Who will be the last warrior standing? Speaking of Putin, this blind prophet once again mentioned this leader and the connection to her prophecy. The mystic predicted that new cures for diseases like Alzheimer's and cancer will be invented very soon. It sounds unbelievable, but nothing is impossible with the rapid development of world medicine. President Vladimir Putin recently said that Russian scientists are close to creating a vaccine for cancer that could soon be available to patients. He said, "We have reached a significant milestone in the development of cancer vaccines and next-generation immunomodulatory drugs. I hope that soon they will be effectively used as methods of individual therapy," he added, speaking at a Moscow forum on future technologies. However, he did not specify the types of cancer the proposed vaccines would target. Furthermore, recent developments have confirmed progress in the development of a lung cancer vaccine. The United Kingdom has allocated funding for 2 years of laboratory research and initial manufacturing of 3,000 doses for a DNA-based lung cancer vaccine, as stated in a press release from the University of Oxford, located in Oxford, England. But it cannot be denied that the world will have a positive outlook for cancer patients, and we can fully expect that a miracle will happen in 2025. Hope for human health. The mystic predicted that new cures for diseases like Alzheimer's and cancer will be invented this year. It sounds unbelievable, but, nothing is impossible with the rapid development of world medicine. President Vladimir Putin recently said that Russian scientists are close to creating a vaccine for cancer that could soon be available to patients. He said, "We have reached a significant milestone in the development of cancer vaccines and next-generation immunomodulatory drugs. I hope that soon they will be effectively used as methods of individual therapy," he added, speaking at a Moscow forum on future technologies. However, he did not specify the types of cancer the proposed vaccines would target. Furthermore, recent developments have confirmed progress in the development of a lung cancer vaccine. The United Kingdom has allocated funding for 2 years of laboratory research and initial manufacturing of 3,000 doses for a DNA-based lung cancer vaccine, as stated in a press release from the University of Oxford, located in Oxford, England. But it cannot be denied that the world will have a positive outlook for cancer patients, and we can fully expect that miracle will happen in 2024. Continuing with the prophecy about rise of cryptocurrencies. Nostradamus wrote a book with about 1,000 French quatrains divided into ages, most of which are undated prophecies for which he is famous to this day. One of them says, "Copies of gold and silver were inflated. After then, they were thrown into the lake. Everything was exhausted and dissolved by the debt. All scripts and links will be removed." We can understand that the copies of gold and silver are the banknotes, which, according to the prophecy, will lose much of their value because of their inflation and the extremely large debt all over the world. The quatrain has double reading. Nostradamus refers to the rise of cryptocurrencies during the year 2025. Copies of gold and silver can be considered cryptocurrencies that copy the status of precious metals as a reserve asset. And encryption is spreading at the speed of a Formula One racing car. New intangible coins will appear, and investors will flock to their digital world, as known as metaverse. Nostradamus warns about the collapse of fiat money, like coins and banknotes. Let not this prophecy be regarded as an exhortation to the market cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrencies were invented because banknotes have started and are still losing in value. Let's not forget that cryptocurrencies are wind-blown. They do not represent some constant value, such as gold. The moon at night on top of the high mountain. The young sage with the lonely brain sees it. He is invited by his students to be immortal. Eyes to the south, hands on the torso, bodies on the fire. This enigmatic quatrain is a prediction of artificial intelligence's rise. Revelation of ancient secrets. Nostradamus predicted that the year 2025 could witness the revelation of ancient secrets that have remained hidden for centuries. According to his quatrains, these secrets will change our understanding of history and human knowledge, challenging the beliefs and theories we have taken for granted. The mention of buried truths has led many to speculate about the possibility of discovering documents, artifacts, or knowledge that could rewrite history as we know it. A common interpretation of this prophecy is that Nostradamus was anticipating the discovery of ancient texts that have been lost or suppressed over time. These texts could contain advanced knowledge about science, philosophy, or spirituality that has been deliberately hidden for political or religious reasons. With advances in exploration and preservation technology, the possibility of discovering ancient manuscripts in libraries, temples, or tombs is more real than ever. These discoveries could shed new light on past civilizations and change our understanding of history. Another possible interpretation is that Nostradamus was predicting the discovery of ancient artifacts that will challenge our understanding of the past. The mention of objects of power has been seen as a reference to artifacts that could possess unknown properties or advanced technologies that defy our current understanding. Nostradamus's prophecy reminds us that the future is uncertain and that we must be prepared to face any challenge that may arise. Human birth at laboratories. Baba Vanga is believed to have predicted that for 2025, human babies will be born in laboratories, where the color of their skin to their character can be decided. This means that the entire process of birth will be controlled. The rise of technology, according to Vanga, advancements in reproductive technology, have already made it possible for some couples to conceive through in vitro fertilization, IVF, and other assisted reproductive technologies. However, the idea of human reproduction becoming entirely artificial raises a number of ethical questions, such as whether it is right to create human life in a laboratory setting. Additionally, it is unclear what impact this could have on the population as a whole, and what unintended consequences could arise from such technology. Human reproduction becoming entirely artificial could have significant consequences for our population and society. It could potentially lead to a decrease in genetic diversity and a greater reliance on technology to create new life. It could also raise significant ethical questions about the creation and ownership of life, as well as the role of government and society in regulating and controlling such technology. The development of artificial reproductive technologies is an active area of research, and significant advancements have already been made in this field. For example, scientists have successfully grown mouse embryos in an artificial womb, and human embryos have been successfully grown in vitro. While there are still many technical and ethical challenges to be addressed, these advancements suggest that the development of entirely artificial human reproduction is not outside the realm of possibility. The development of artificial body parts and prosthetics is an active area of research, and significant advancements have already been made in this field. For example, scientists have developed brain-controlled prosthetic arms, and some artificial organs, such as hearts, are already in use. While the development of entirely artificial bodies and organs is still a long way off, these advancements suggest that the potential for such technology is not out of the question. Dangerous bird virus. Birds have been affected by numerous viruses in the past, such as avian flu, which can be transmitted to humans. It is possible that a new virus could emerge that would have a significant impact on bird populations. The potential consequences of such an event would depend on the severity of the virus and the ability of humans to contain its spread. A dangerous virus affecting bird populations could potentially have significant ecological and economic consequences. It could disrupt food supplies, as well as impact other animal populations that rely on birds for food or pollination. Additionally, it could potentially lead to the spread of the virus to humans, which could have significant health consequences. Bird populations have been affected by numerous viruses in the past, and the potential for future outbreaks is always a concern. However, the identification and monitoring of potential bird viruses is an active area of research, and scientists are working to develop new vaccines and other preventative measures to protect both birds and humans. Social revolutions. Nostradamus, in his writings, predicted a series of social revolutions that will shake the world in the year 2025. According to his prophecies, these revolts will be the result of growing inequality and a population increasingly dissatisfied with social and political conditions. Nostradamus describes a fire that will burn in the heart of cities, which many have interpreted as a premonition of social unrest and revolutionary changes that could redefine the structure of modern societies. Nostradamus's predictions about social revolutions have been the subject of numerous interpretations over the years. However, in the current context, where social and economic inequality continues to grow, these prophecies have taken on new significance. The gap between rich and poor has widened, and racial, gender, and class tensions are reaching boiling points in many parts of the world. This environment is ripe for the type of social revolution that Nostradamus seems to have predicted. A common interpretation of this prophecy is that Nostradamus was anticipating a massive uprising of the population against the ruling elites. References to fire in the heart of cities could be interpreted as riots and protests in large urban areas where inequality is most evident. In recent years, we have seen massive protests erupt in cities worldwide, from Hong Kong to Paris, in response to corruption, oppression, and lack of opportunities. Nostradamus's prophecy could be suggesting that these disturbances will intensify in 2025, leading to significant changes in the social order. Another interpretation suggests that these social revolutions could be driven by technology. Nostradamus mentions a new power that will arise and challenge existing structures, which some interpret as a reference to social media and digital technology. Today, online platforms have proven to be powerful tools for organizing and mobilizing social movements. From the Arab Spring to the Black Lives Matter movement, technology has played a crucial role in amplifying the voices of the oppressed and organizing large-scale protests. This prophecy could be warning of a digital revolution that will change the dynamics of power in the world. However, not everyone is convinced that this prophecy will come true. Skeptics argue that Nostradamus's predictions are too vague and can be applied to almost any situation of social conflict. Military conflicts. In his quatrains, Nostradamus also predicted the possibility of large-scale military conflicts that could break out in the year 2025. According to his visions, these wars will be devastating and affect multiple nations, pushing the world to the brink of global catastrophe. The mention of fire and blood in the sky has led many to interpret this as a reference to airstrikes and bombings, suggesting that the conflict could involve the world's largest military powers. Analysts of Nostradamus's prophecies have noted that these visions of war could be linked to current geopolitical tensions. In a world where relations between major powers are increasingly strained, the possibility of armed conflict is not far-fetched. Territorial disputes, the arms race, and ideological conflicts could trigger a series of confrontations that could ultimately escalate into a large-scale war. Nostradamus seems to have foreseen a scenario where diplomacy fails and nations turn to violence to resolve their differences. A common interpretation of this prophecy is that Nostradamus was anticipating a conflict between superpowers, possibly involving the United States, China, and Russia. The references to great eagles facing each other have been seen as an allusion to these countries, whose relations have deteriorated in recent years. The possibility that a territorial dispute or a diplomatic misunderstanding could trigger a larger conflict is a real concern in today's geopolitical landscape. Additionally, the mention of fire in the sky could be interpreted as a reference to the use of nuclear weapons, making the conflict even more devastating. Speaking of the world's conflict, Nostradamus might mention World War III. On the other hand, the Frenchman predicted the beginning of a new world war, 79 years after the end of the second one. A confrontation around China is something that many geopolitical experts and journalists have started to see in the changing dynamics and rise of China as a global power. In the past, China has showcased its brute force several times in regions around the South, China Sea and Taiwan, most of them through its naval ships. Analysts believe this may allude to the escalating conflict in Asia, with China involving NATO countries, potentially leading to a violent military conflict or an all-out war. Nostradamus also predicted something similar to this centuries ago. In one of his quatrains, he wrote about combat and naval battle. He said that the red adversary will become pale with fear, putting the great ocean in dread. Some think that the red adversary could be referring to China. He could well be referring to what happened in Ukraine, the China-Taiwan conflict, or Palestine. Some interpreters point to every earthquake, every political upheaval, and every attack on Israel as a sure sign that the end times are rapidly approaching. While the events may signal the approach of the last days, They are not necessarily indicators that the end times have arrived. The Apostle Paul warned that the last days would bring a marked increase in false teaching. The Spirit clearly says that in later times some will abandon the faith and follow deceiving spirits and things taught by demons. The last days are described as perilous times because of the increasingly evil character of man and people who actively oppose the truth. Throughout Christian history, believers have speculated that the prophesied end times were just about to start. Some audacious ones have even set specific dates. People predicting end times dates usually focus on things like wars, increasing wickedness, and natural disasters. They talk about bad things like the increased fierceness of storms, the surge of killer viruses, severe famines and droughts, and escalating tensions between nations. There is no doubt that world war will be a part of the future. Christ plainly taught that there would be war prior to his return. Jesus foretold, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom." Similarly, Revelation 6:4 foretold a symbolic horseman representing warfare that would take peace away from the earth. To be more specific, the future does hold at least one more world war. There is nothing in Scripture that says there will be only a certain number of world wars. World Wars I and II are not explicitly mentioned in Scripture, nor is a possible third world war. It is only the last war that is mentioned in detail, which allows the interpretation that there may be others before the final conflict. So, although there will be at least one more world war, there is no doubt of the outcome. Righteousness will prevail as Christ, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, defeats all who oppose him. It is also worth mentioning at this time that following the 1,000-year reign of Christ, there will be another uprising which could possibly have the scope of a world war. Satan will be bound for 1,000 years and then released. Upon his release, he leads a rebellion among the peoples of the earth. Christ quickly puts down this rebellion and permanently judges Satan, casting him into the lake of fire as he did with the beast, Antichrist, and the false prophet.
His readings unlocked secrets from the past and predicted our future.
Edgar Casey, born in 1877, had a childhood different from most children, as he dedicated much of his time to studying the Bible, always seeking answers in its ancient texts. At the age of 11, he had a vision in which a woman appeared before him, asking what he desired most in life. Edgar's response was surprising. He wanted the ability to help others, especially sick children. This moment was decisive and marked the beginning of his journey into prophecies. During his life, Edgar made many prophecies about the fate of the world, and many of them are being fulfilled now. Everything changed after a sleep. Edgar suffered a severe accident at school, seriously injuring his back to the point where he could not move. His family was terrified by the situation. One night, while half asleep, Edgar spoke out loud about a recipe for a medicine made from herbs. Desperate to help him, his parents decided to try the recipe. To everyone's surprise, Edgar fully recovered the next day, as if he had never been injured. These events were the first signs of Edgar's unusual abilities, which would later reveal themselves in impressive ways. Edgar Casey became known for making predictions about world events, including the start and end of both world wars, the end of the Great Depression, and the deaths of 2 U.S. presidents. He also foresaw China's rise as a global economic power. To this day, many wonder whether Edgar Casey was truly a prophet. Motivated by his desire to help others and his newfound confidence in his abilities, Edgar began offering psychic readings. Unlike other prophets of his time, Edgar's predictions were not limited to a single type of prophecy. He addressed a wide range of topics, from health and wellness to spirituality, past lives, ancient civilizations, future technologies, and more. The accomplishments of the sleeping prophet seemed boundless. In 1902, a young girl with a severe head injury was brought to him. Doctors believed she would not survive, but Casey indicated that the real problem was in her spine, not her brain. He suggested that the doctors adjust her spine. Edgar could read the human body as if it were an X-ray machine, using medical terminology with astonishing precision. Within a few months, the girl showed remarkable improvement. It didn't stop there. Edgar also used his gifts for economic purposes. In 1929, knowing that the stock market was about to crash, he warned his friends to sell their shares. Those who followed his advice managed to save a significant amount of money. At times, people asked Edgar Casey who would win a horse race or what would happen in the stock market. His extraordinary abilities spanned numerous fields, cementing his legacy as one of history's most enigmatic figures. Edgar Casey spoke about the existence of ruins of an ancient civilization beneath the ocean near Bimini in the Bahamas. In 1938, he suggested that the city was Atlantis, a super-advanced city from history. Casey described Atlantis as a massive continent in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Curiously, in 1968, underwater structures were discovered in Bimini, which some researchers believe may support Casey's prophecies. He added that Atlantis was a vast civilization with technology more advanced than ours, but that it disappeared under the ocean around 10,000 years ago due to a great flood. Could this flood be the one recorded in the Bible during Noah's time? And this is what he predicted for this year. Earth changes. He foresaw that a significant war would erupt in the heart of Europe, and indeed Germany initiated World War II, which led to Hitler's downfall. He correctly predicted that Germany, Austria, and Japan would form an alliance. In the 1930s and 1940s, Casey made many prophecies of cataclysmic events involving the whole planet, with a series of Earth changes occurring very soon. He predicted that the polar axis would shift and that many areas that are now land would again become ocean floor, and that Atlantis would rise from the sea. The phrase, Earth changes, was coined by the American psychic Edgar Casey in the 1930s in reference to his belief that the world would soon enter a series of cataclysmic events, causing major alterations in human life on the planet. This includes natural events such as major earthquakes, the melting of the polar ice caps, a pole shift of the planetary axis, major weather events, solar flares, and so on, as well as huge changes in the local and global social, economic, and political systems. Edgar Casey made impressive predictions about changes in the Earth's geography. He claimed that the continents would shift and the climate would change the world in unimaginable ways. He suggested that this transformation could happen suddenly with the eruptions of Mount Etna in Italy and Mount Pelée in Martinique. Both are active volcanoes, with Etna being one of the most active in the world, having erupted recently, while Pelée had its last major eruption in 1902. One of the most critical aspects of this change would occur in Africa. Casey predicted that the continent would split into 3 parts due to the formation of a massive new waterway, with the Nile River widening and the Red Sea expanding significantly. This dramatic change could even submerge the bustling city of Cairo under the sea. Asia would not escape these convulsions either. Casey predicted changes in the geography of India, China, Japan, Korea, and the Philippines. He stated that the Pacific Ocean would advance and swallow large portions of land from the Philippines to Japan, leaving only a few remaining islands. The Korean peninsula and parts of China's coastline would also succumb to the rising seas. For India, Casey issued a specific warning. He advised seeking refuge in the country's higher elevations due to the potential collapse of land. He believed that the Himalayas in Tibet and Nepal would offer safer refuge for Indians. Casey also made less favorable predictions for Antarctica. He suggested that as the ice melted, the geological structure of the region would undergo drastic transformations, affecting global climate and altering weather patterns in unpredictable ways. Despite the extreme conditions, Antarctica is home to vibrant wildlife, including penguins, seals, whales, and seabirds. The ice sheet provides essential habitats and breeding areas, protecting many species from predators and ensuring access to food. However, Edgar Casey predicted a dramatic transformation. Antarctica would lose its ice cover and turn into a vast green expanse, perfect for agriculture. On the other hand, Casey foresaw a less favorable fate for Australia. He predicted that floods would cover a quarter of Australia's territory, submerging cities like Adelaide. Ironically, the arid deserts like Simpson and Gibson would transform into fertile agricultural lands. New Zealand, however, would emerge unscathed and might even expand, connecting to Australia and becoming a refuge for those displaced by global convulsions. In Europe, the predictions were equally dramatic. Casey predicted that much of northern Europe, including Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Denmark, would submerge, leaving only a fragmented archipelago of islands. The United Kingdom would also suffer, with vast areas from Scotland to the English Channel succumbing to rising sea levels. Although some highland areas, such as London and Birmingham, might remain intact, many regions would not escape the devastating changes. Ireland would be almost entirely swallowed by the ocean, leaving only the highest peaks above the waterline. For ocean enthusiasts, Casey almost predicted an expansion of the terrestrial waters. A new sea would emerge from the merging of the Black and Baltic Seas, cutting Russia off from continental Europe and extending into Siberia. This would position Russia as Europe's granary, a fertile agricultural power. Extended lifespan. We know that humans are now living longer than at the time of Edgar Case, but his readings seem to indicate that a healthy human lifespan would extend years beyond that which we are currently living. He once said, "Now, we find there are many changes in the body since we have had this, many for good. Many of the organs and the conditions show the changes as come about by the natural, or so-called natural conditions and changes as the body succumbs to the effects of age or usage in the system. Much of this may be overcome. Man should live much longer than has been ordinarily given, and will." While we have seen improvements in healthcare that have increased lifespans compared to Casey's time, living for centuries remains a drastic idea. It would mean not just adding years to life, but also maintaining good health over extended periods. Casey's vision implies that future generations might enjoy a longer and better quality of life in their later years. This could lead to changes in how societies are structured, including retirement ages and healthcare systems. The idea challenges us to think about aging not as a process of decline, but as an opportunity for continued growth and contribution to society. While Casey's specific timeframe and ways for achieving these longer lifespans remain uncertain and speculative, his vision encourages us to consider the possibilities of future medical advancements and their potential impact on human longevity. It makes us imagine a future where aging is viewed differently, with new opportunities and challenges for individuals and society as a whole. The rise of the legend. Few clairvoyants enjoyed the renown of Edgar Casey, America's sleeping prophet. During his lifetime, Casey gave more than 14,000 documented readings to a wide range of people, including celebrities like Harry Houdini, Thomas Edison, Woodrow Wilson, and Marilyn Monroe. These readings covered a wide variety of topics, including personal matters and health conditions. He also foretold events, from Atlantis' rediscovery to the outbreak of World War II. Yet, he earned his most famous moniker, the Sleeping Prophet, because of his purported ability to fall asleep atop books, awakening with full retention of the facts and illustrations recorded therein. Later, this skill transformed into the ability to diagnose and recommend treatments for illnesses while in a trance-like sleeping state. Casey himself had no formal medical training. Here's what we know about Casey's preternatural talents, surprising predictions, and fascinating medical diagnoses. Edgar Casey remains a controversial figure, and with good reason. Stories surrounding his early life prove sensational and hard to believe. Yet, they provide the foundational elements for this fascinating turn-of-the-century American figure's rise to fame. Among his earliest exploits is playing with the little folk and communing with his dead grandfather. He considered these entities incorporeal, claiming he could look right through them if he focused hard enough. In 1889, 12-year-old Casey recounted a visit from a winged woman who promised to answer his prayers. With all of these supernatural beings running around, it's little wonder Casey had difficulty concentrating on his schoolwork. The day after he first met the lady with the wings, he received an unsatisfactory report from his teacher about poor spelling. Casey's father tested him for spelling, knocking his adolescent son out of his chair in frustration. At this moment, Casey recalled hearing the winged lady's voice. She commanded him to fall asleep a little while so they could help him. After pleading with his dad for a quick nap, he placed his head on the spelling book and snoozed. When his father woke Case up, he had full recollection of the volume tucked beneath his head. His father was stunned to find his son had every page of the book memorized. Casey repeated the process with other school books. By 1892, his teacher pronounced him the best student in class. When she questioned him about how he'd turned around his school grades, he mentioned sleeping atop books. Each time he did this, he woke to full recollection of their contents. The legend of the sleeping prophet was born. Over time, his ability to absorb books during slumber was eclipsed by another talent: his ability to provide people with full medical diagnoses in his sleep. Acting as a clairvoyant doctor began with self-diagnosis. After getting hit in the spine with a ball during a school game, Casey acted strangely. His parents put him to bed. To their astonishment, he began talking in his sleep, diagnosing his condition and describing how to cure it. After following their sleeping son's instructions, Case received healing. Soon, newspapers billed Casey as the illiterate man who becomes a doctor when hypnotized. They described how Casey, whom they described as a psychic diagnostician, would take off his coat, collar, and tie before reclining. He would then close his eyes and sigh deeply. Moments later, his eyes would open, filled with a dreamy quality as if in a trance, and he would start reciting diagnoses, cures, and even predictions. During his lifetime, he gave more than 14,000 readings covering a wide range of topics. There are hundreds of people throughout the United States who will testify at the drop of a hat to the accuracy of his diagnoses and the efficacy of his suggestions for treatment. Whether these information amounted to much more than anecdotal evidence remains up for debate. But Casey's health recommendations from the 1920s and 30s do hold up to today's standards. His tips for leading a long and healthy life included getting a good night's sleep, cooking with olive oil, exercising, and drinking plenty of water. Besides his penchant for sleep-talking medical diagnoses, Casey also made fascinating prophecies. While some appear to have proven accurate, others remain up for interpretation. Among those predictions attributed to him are foretelling the stock market crash of 1929 on two separate occasions, the first in February 1925, and then 6 months before the event, in March 1929. In 1935, he predicted how World War II would unfold, describing an unprecedented alliance between the Germans, Austrians, and Japanese. It's worth noting that this alliance would not come to light until the Tripartite Pact signing on September 27, 1940. Casey also predicted the whole world will be set on fire by the militaristic groups. Other strange foretellings from the sleeping prophet include the use of blood as a diagnostic tool, the discovery of the La Niña and El Niño effects, and the convergence of communications companies in a cooperative and structured manner. He also spoke at length about the Dead Sea Scrolls and the people who created them, the Essenes. Yet, the Dead Sea Scrolls weren't discovered until 1947, 2 years after Casey's death. And it would take many more years before details about the lives of the Essenes would begin to emerge. Casey also discussed the lost city of Atlantis, predicting its rediscovery near Bimini in 1968 or 1969. In 1968, archaeologists discovered an underwater rock formation off the coast of the Bahamian island of North Bimini. The formation sits 18 feet below the surface. Some hypothesize it marks the submerged city's entrance. Although debate still rages about whether the Bimini Road is naturally occurring or human-made, its discovery lends additional credence to America's favorite clairvoyant, the Awakeness Year. The year 2025, according to Casey, marks a pivotal moment in human history. It's described as an epoch where a collective awakening occurs the world. He believed that by 2025, humanity would experience a significant spiritual awakening, leading to a deeper connection with our inner selves and a greater awareness of our interconnectedness with all living beings. This prediction resonates with the increasing interest in mindfulness, meditation, and holistic well-being practices in our modern society. As scientific and technological advancements have dominated our collective focus, many have found themselves feeling increasingly disconnected from a sense of meaning and purpose in their lives. That is what Edgar Casey saw long ago, and he believed that 2025 is the perfect time for everyone to awaken. We all need to seek out ways to reconnect with their inner selves and find greater fulfillment in life. Edgar Casey also spoke about the awakening that people must experience after leaving this world. He told, "After death, we may enter a region that is void of love, life, and light, void of everything. For some, this region is approximately their wish come true. Here, they are truly alone with themselves. For some souls, this is a pain that is unbearable. In the absence of truth, love, gentleness, and kindness, some souls fill the void with an irrational and unbelievable amount of pain and fear. It is so dark in the realm of outer darkness that the darkness hurts, and panic grips them without knowing why. There are various degrees of darkness to this realm, and it is darker and denser at the center than at its outer fringes. The closer we are to the outer edges, the more interaction there is with others in the realm. The closer to the center, the darker and more painful is the solitude. Those who find themselves in outer darkness cannot travel across this dimension. They must grow through the levels of this realm. After death, one may find themselves in a particular degree of darkness that most closely corresponds to the degree of the absence of love in one's life. Outer darkness is not a punishment. It is a region which operates lawfully for the benefit of those who are there. This region is not a realm which was created for any soul to experience, but one which came about as a consequence of the negative activity of souls in creation. So great has been the desire for self, so monumental across time and space has been the selfishness of some of God's creatures, that this realm is the creation or manifestation of their own collective activities. Outer darkness and the reality with which it is associated were created and are held in place by collective self-interest. Being spiritually awakened means that an individual has had a profound shift in their understanding of themselves and the world around them. This awakening often comes after a period of feeling disconnected, lost, or unfulfilled in life. Interestingly, some individuals report experiencing physical symptoms, such as a fever, during their spiritual awakening, signifying a kind of intense inner burning away of old beliefs and patterns. Spiritual awakening can happen suddenly or gradually, and it often involves a change in perception, a deepening of self-awareness, and a newfound sense of connection to a higher power, even amidst internal conflict. Spiritual awakening can take many forms and can be experienced in different ways by different people. Some common signs and symptoms of spiritual awakening can include a greater sense of empathy, compassion, and love towards others, an increased ability to live in the present moment, a deeper connection to nature and the universe, a heightened awareness of synchronicities and signs, and a sense of inner peace and contentment. Ultimately, being spiritually awakened means that an individual has come to a new level of understanding and awareness about themselves and the natural world. It's through this ascension process that you realize your potential and find the ability to change your life profoundly. In other words, they've had a spiritual ascension. Now, it's important to understand the difference between awakening and ascension. At the same time, spiritual awakening refers to the internal shift in consciousness that an individual experiences, leading to a profound change in their understanding of themselves and the world. Ascension, specifically 5D ascension, signifies an evolution beyond the physical reality into a realm of higher spiritual enlightenment and awareness. This spiritual ascension, often referred to as 5D ascension, signifies a shift from the three-dimensional physical reality to a five-dimensional realm of spiritual enlightenment and awareness. It often involves a newfound sense of purpose and direction in life, as well as a deepening of one's spiritual practices and beliefs. And if you have these signs, might be you are experiencing a spiritual awakening. One of the first signs of spiritual awakening is heightened intuition. Intuition is often described as an inner knowing, a subtle voice or feeling that guides us without conscious reasoning. Imagine moments when you suddenly just know the right path to take, or when you understand something without needing to analyze it. These instances become more frequent and pronounced. You might make decisions based on a feeling or a hunch, which often are remarkably accurate and beneficial. This heightened intuition keeps you in tune with your inner voice, which speaks from your true self, free from overthinking and external influences. The noise of everyday life dims, allowing you to hear the wisdom inside you all along. As you experience this shift, your intuition becomes a source of creativity and inspiration. You may discover new solutions to problems or feel inspired to take paths you hadn't considered before. Trusting this inner guidance can be empowering, leading to a deeper understanding of yourself and your purpose. Increased empathy and compassion is the second sign. You may gain a deeper empathy and compassion as you journey through a spiritual awakening. Suddenly, the boundaries between your emotions and those of others might seem blurred, allowing you to feel what they feel with a heightened sense of understanding and sensitivity. You might genuinely experience the ebbs and flows of emotions that others are going through. This increased empathy can extend to all living beings, people, animals, and the environment. You become more at one with the subtle expressions of nature and the silent voices of animals, sensing their unspoken stories and needs. Alongside empathy, your compassion also grows. This might manifest in small acts of kindness, like offering a listening ear to a friend or helping a stranger in need. Or it could inspire more significant changes in your life, such as volunteering for causes you care about or making lifestyle choices that are more considerate of the planet and its population. This increase in empathy and compassion is a sign of your heart opening and your consciousness expanding. You start to see the interconnectedness of all life, recognizing that the well-being of others directly impacts your own. As enriching as this heightened empathy and compassion can be, looking after yourself is important. Being deeply attuned to the emotions of others can feel overwhelming at times. Setting healthy emotional boundaries helps you maintain your emotional well-being. The next sign that you need to focus on is desire for meaningful connections. A key aspect of experiencing a spiritual awakening is the desire for deeper, more meaningful connections in your life. This shift often begins as a growing dissatisfaction with superficial interactions and a hunger for relationships that offer genuine depth and authenticity. You may find yourself longing for conversations beyond the mundane, seeking to connect on a level that nourishes your soul and aligns with your newfound understanding of the world. As you embark on this journey, the nature of your relationships may begin to change. You might gravitate towards people who share your values and perspectives or challenge you to grow and think in new ways. You might seek out those who understand and respect your journey in your friendships, offering support and wisdom. In romantic relationships, you may desire a partner who supports and participates in your spiritual growth. Even in professional settings, you might find yourself drawn to work that feels more aligned with your values and allows for authentic expression. This shift can also mean letting go of relationships that no longer serve your growth. Recognizing that some connections might hinder your journey is an essential part of this process. It's about finding balance and ensuring that your social circle reflects and supports your spiritual path. Changing priorities is also a special sign. During a spiritual awakening, one of the most noticeable changes is your priorities and values. You might find yourself reassessing what truly matters to you, leading to a significant shift in how you view and interact with the world. You'll begin to value personal growth, meaningful relationships, and enriching experiences over material possessions. This realization can be liberating, freeing you from pursuing material gains and allowing you to focus on what genuinely enriches your life. As personal growth climbs higher on your list of priorities, you might invest more time and energy in activities that nurture your mind, body, and spirit. This could include meditation, yoga, reading, or creative hobbies. The joy in these activities often comes from the inner peace and self-discovery they bring. Relationships also take on a new significance. You value deeper connections with others that are based on mutual respect, understanding, and support. These relationships provide a sense of belonging and offer a space for mutual growth and sharing life experiences. Experiences themselves become more valuable than possessions. Travel, learning new skills, or spending quality time with loved ones might become more important. These experiences enrich your life in ways that material items cannot, providing lasting memories and a sense of fulfillment deeply rooted in living a meaningful life. Let's continue with feeling a sense of unity. A symptom often experienced during a spiritual awakening is a deep-seated feeling of unity or oneness. It connects to a larger, universal energy, being in harmony with all forms of life. You might experience moments where you feel deeply in tune with nature, sensing a sacred kinship with the trees, the sky, the ocean, and every living creature. In your interactions with people, you may recognize that everyone, regardless of their background or life story, shares the same fundamental desires for love, security, and happiness. This realization can foster empathy and compassion as you begin to see reflections of yourself in others. Judgments and barriers fade, replaced by an understanding of the universal human experience. You might also become more aware of how your actions impact the world. This awareness can lead to more mindful, conscious living, where your choices are guided by a desire to contribute positively to the collective well-being. Last but not least, it's experiencing moments of bliss. A spiritual awakening often brings with it unexpected moments of bliss and joy. These experiences can feel like bursts of pure happiness from deep within and often occur without any apparent external cause. These moments of bliss can catch you by surprise. You might be engaged in a mundane task or sitting quietly when suddenly overwhelmed by immense peace and happiness. This isn't the kind of joy that comes from external rewards or achievements. It feels more intrinsic, as if you're tapping into a deep well of contentment within you. This bliss is often accompanied by feeling connected to something greater than yourself. It's as if, in that moment, you're experiencing a deep truth about life and your place in the universe. These experiences can be deeply moving and transformative, offering a glimpse into being free from worry, stress, or negativity. These experiences can be incredibly rejuvenating. In the aftermath of such bliss, you might feel more energized, optimistic, and at peace with yourself and the world around you. It's a reminder of the potential for joy that resides within us all, waiting to be uncovered.